Hey, so in this draft between SK Gaming and Fnatic, Fnatic ended up bringing out a pocket pick, or I would say a tech pick, that they had prepared for Renata. So as you see in the draft here, SK ended up picking Draven Renata on B2, B3 as a decently strong blind and somewhat of a takeaway of the Renata from the Kalista. And then they end up picking the Ballista combo on R3. So while this is a good matchup, I believe this also is a great example of teams adapting on the fly to this draft. So on paper, the Draven Renata kind of gets negated by the Blitzcrank matchup, although it is a bit of a weird one. It does create an interesting dynamic in terms of their team composition for Fnatic, but I believe that Fnatic are banking on the fact that they really want to counter this champion. This is a risk they're taking because this does reveal that their comp is just going to be pick-paced and their team fighting is not going to be the greatest in the world, but this is something they're willing to take because they think it's going to be an advantage. However, they could have pushed this to R4 or even R5, probably R5 if it were me, but I believe SK Gaming probably would have banned it in phase 2. There's a pretty decent chance. So with that in mind, I really like how SK actually end up making use of the Blitzcrank. So basically, the main dynamic with Blitzcrank is that although he's excelling in lane in this case, the main weakness that he's going to have against this composition or in any composition is if pulling an opponent is risky, right? Let's leave it at this in its simplest form. And SK actually make good use of that because they pick 2 champions on 4-5 that allow them to make advantage of this situation. So Rel and Nico in this case, Nico being into the matchup into Azir, but also semi of a option into the Blitzcrank because I'm sure Niski wouldn't mind too much to be pulled in to be able to start a fight, right? This is still a forward comp by SK as well, so it's supplemented by this. And they actually opt for Rel jungle too. The way this works is that these two can just create space. Even Jax can create a lot of space. So after the laning phase, which is the worst part for this for Fnatic, it gets a lot better for SK, in which case they can just use their frontliners or even start fights by instigating something by having Jun be forced to pull someone in, or not give him any angles to actually pull a priority target, right? Draven could just be chilling in the back. Whether or not the Draven can be useful after laning phase that much with something like an Azir in play is another issue, but I digress. I really like the adaptation and special picks they're going for here, right? Normally teams would have gone for something like Lee Sin and Zhao, something very standard at this case, right? Or even Trundle would have been okay in this case. But Rel being so good here is because she wants to be pulled. This is a very special champion that is unique in that she's very, very happy into dealing with Blitzcrank compositions. So I just thought this is a really good example of this, and we can highlight this even in later phases. Hopefully they have good examples here where, let's see, where the fights are actually quite messy. Like you can see SK actually going forward in this case with the Blitzcrank not actually being able to contribute very much. So this is what I mean where Blitzcrank compositions are very, very niche in that sense. There's a lot of situations where it could be good, but you really need it needs a lot of respect in terms of draft. Like it needs to be picked really late. It has to be specific angles. It looks decent in concept in this case, but SK, great job on punishing it.